Hey everybody, Dustin Dopriak, Pacers beat right here at the Indianapolis Star. Crossover episode with Jim Owczarski, Milwaukee Bucks insider, beat writer, whatever word we're using for this, covering the Milwaukee Bucks. Game 1, Pacers Bucks, 117-98. Pacers, I thought a surprising, I don't know if blowout is the word I would use, but I'm kind of surprised to see them win this one by double figures. Obviously, going into this one, you know Giannis Antetokounmpo is going to be Giannis, and he's going to score his points. Obviously, the Pacers were aware going in that they're dealing with one of the most powerful forces in the entire NBA, certainly, I think, the best player in the Eastern Conference. And he did score 36 points, 14 of 23 shooting. But one of the things that's made him most dangerous, especially lately with Damian Lillard being out, is he's been piling up huge assist numbers. I think double-figure assists in 5 of his last 6 games. Today, 1 assist, big reason why. The starters in particular for the Bucks, but really team across the board, but particularly starting group, had a hard time putting the ball in the bucket. I mean, just what did you see, I guess, what did the Bucks see as the reasons why their offense fizzled out outside of Giannis?
Yeah, I mean, 36 points for Giannis is almost par for the course. Actually, maybe is a little less than what he does against the Pacers.
Yeah.
But it is that 1 assist number, Dustin. I mean, he's had, up until this year, almost half of his career triple-doubles were against the Pacers. So what he saw was maybe not anything different, but the reactions, I guess, either his decision-making in terms of being a beat slow, the rest of the team not moving it as quickly as they have in the last 2.5 weeks without Damian Lillard, it just wasn't there. I mean, I think they shot under 15% from 3 deep into the fourth quarter. And this was the number 1 3-point shooting team in the league at 38%. And that's because of Giannis drawing so much attention, kicking it out, and then quick swings to other players if, of course, that first pass isn't the shot they want, Dustin. And they didn't do that tonight. And I mean, I'm sure, of course, there's a credit to what the Pacers were doing defensively. But the Bucks sort of broke a little bit in that way, and so for Pacers fans, maybe we haven't seen the Bucks. This has happened to them. The 98 points, unfortunately, from Milwaukee, not an outlier. I mean, they've had these sort of depressed scoring halves at times this year. So, for tonight, I think they know what to do going forward, but credit to the Pacers for making it difficult, and especially for that starting group.
Right. There was an acknowledgement among the Pacers. I think Tyrese Haliburton said it in particular that the Bucks are probably going to look at this game and say there were some shots they should have made, basically, and that there was some offense they should have put out. But did say they thought the communication was pretty good. I mean, there have been Giannis has in many cases dominated the Pacers, certainly historically, but even last year averaged, I think, 42 a game in the regular season. Pacers were fortunate not to have to deal with him in the playoffs. But it seemed like, for one thing, they didn't press him. The Pacers tend to do a lot of full court pressure in terms of going after ball handlers. They kind of stayed back. Pascal Siakam kind of had the assignment and sort of let him come back and basically just made sure he was sort of facing a wall, double teaming a lot. Again, like you said, making sure that first pass was a difficult one to make and that person at least didn't have a clean one, even if somebody else on the floor did. It seemed like communication was overall pretty good. They were more or less where they wanted to be. But you obviously saw the bench guys at least got going for the Bucks eventually. Kevin Porter Jr., Bobby Portis, Gary Trent, AJ Green in particular. Starter unit had a really rough time. Taurean Prince and Kyle Kuzma had a rough day. 0 points between the two of them, 0 for 6 from the field. Do they make a change before Damian Lillard comes back? Did they shake this lineup to try to get one of those bench guys to get those more minutes? Obviously, they still close with a lot of those guys, so they try to shake things up after the way those first 2 guys played.
Yeah, I feel like with a veteran team and a veteran coach in Doc Rivers, that's probably not the move to make. With a couple days off. And it just feels like you would depress the confidence or crush the confidence. So Kyle Kuzma, locker room, wrap on his left hand, left thumb. He said it happened early in the game. We'll probably have to get it checked out in the off days, Dustin, but also said he thinks he'll be able to go. Left-handed, he's a right-handed player. This was not the first playoff game he kind of wanted to have as the guy who they traded Chris Middleton for.
Right. Yes, especially.
And so with that, though, Dustin, I think, and Doc had said this, that first group, Torrey and Kyle included, more decisive, a little quicker with with their actions. Now, the bench unit, you're right, they got within 9 and had 3 chances, or 12, excuse me, had 3 chances to get to 9. And those shots at the front of the rim. And those guys played 18 minutes in a row, 16 minutes in a row. Now, Doc Rivers says, hey, a couple days off, a week off. Okay, you could say that, Dustin, but that's a lot. Even Kevin Porter Jr. admitted, he's like, that's a ton of minutes. They like that group. That's a long time to do it.
Sure.
So I don't
It's a
know
young
if they,
group, too.
I don't know if it's so much making a change in lineups, because this is kind of what they've been doing. I think it's more of maybe pressing the issue, meaning get the ball moving quicker with that starting unit to get more effectiveness out of it, so that bench group doesn't have to play that long.
Right. Doesn't have to dig out a hole like it did. Flip side, Pacers had kind of an opposite offensive, more or less, function. I mean, Tyrese Haliburton had a rough day shooting 3 of 13 from the field, 0 of 7 from 3. Got a couple pull-ups to go. I think got a layup, but that was about it. It didn't seem like he had bad shots. He was just getting a lot of stuff rattling out. But he had 12 assists in this game to 1 turnover. He was plus 27. And everybody else, basically, they needed, almost everybody else they needed to step up did. Pascal Siakam, you saw just really professional outing from him. 10 of 15 from the floor for 25 points. He was plus 28, 7 rebounds, a couple assists, a steal block. Really good sort of all-around game from Pascal, which you're used to seeing. It seemed like he had hit a little bit of a fatigue wall down the stretch. And I think this last week off and some other couple games off toward the end really helped him out. You saw a much better game from Andrew Nembhard. You've seen he was 3 of 23 in the last 3 games of his last 3 games of the regular season. Really attacked the rim right out of the gate. Really went right at Brook Lopez. I think he had 6 early points doing that. I think 8 in the first quarter. He ends up with 17. Miles Turner hits 4 threes, 19 points. Really good minutes from Benedict Mathurin, TJ McConnell, Jarris Walker, all 3 of those guys off the bench. Mathurin didn't get to play in the playoffs at all last year. Walker was just playing garbage minutes. Those guys really stepped up, and they put a pretty complete effort, not entirely. I mean, there was a couple mid to late third quarter they looked kind of rough. Fourth quarter they looked a little bit rough, but they kind of checked all the boxes I thought you needed to check. You hit enough threes, played good enough defense, let Giannis beat you a good bit, but not in the 50-point range. Basically, I mean, I think if you're the Pacers, he's averaging 30 to 35, but you're just hoping he doesn't get 50, more or less. It seems like they set themselves up on. Obviously, the difference is this year they started off this series hosting. Basically, they get the first 2 games. Last year, they were terrible in game 1. They got just run right off the floor and managed to come back and win game 2. I guess I imagine Milwaukee understands that they're in the similar position. They know that they can shake off a bad performance in the same way.
Yeah, and so going back to Tyrese, the Bucks were happy the fact that it took 6 minutes for him to even attempt a shot.
Right.
And it took, just as long to attempt the second one. Now, some of those were in and out.
Sure.
I'm sure Tyrese will take some of those and they'll go in. But in terms of the scoring, the Bucks happy about that, but also realize the way Kevin Porter called it overreacting a little bit to his drives that allowed for those 12 assists to allow for some easier threes. I think the Bucks on one hand will take some of the individual defense with Tyrese, but understood that they maybe gave too much to those other Pacers players, made them pay. Now, to your point about game 2, the Bucks are going home. Early game. They might even be Milwaukee by the time you see this. 2 nights at home in bed. They get a practice day. Damian Lillard might be back, and that would be a huge lift.
Sure.
Whether he is or not, he's getting close. Dustin, I think we'll see him now. And you're right. I think that's Milwaukee's just looking at it. Hey, we're a better team than we showed, but we know we can't win with 98 points.
Sure.
So I think they'll take some of this stuff from the Pacers, particularly Haliburton. But yeah, look, the Pacers they're the team in this series, Dustin, with the continuity, with a conference finals run under the belt, with a lot of these things. The Bucks, there's a couple championship guys left, but this is a new team in a lot of ways, guys in different roles. So, I think for the Bucks to steal one in here in game 2 is a big deal, is an emphasis for them for sure.
Sure, absolutely. Be back Tuesday at 7 o'clock. So game 2, and Pacers up 1-0.
It's very important. I think it's very, very important. There's a lot of teams out there with great first units, and for us, it's like we see what we have in our team, and we feel like we have the best second unit out there, and we go out there with the confidence and the trust that we have with each other to go out there and play the ball.
You ended up on Giannis a few times in this game. What's the key? I know one-on-one stopping him is nearly impossible, but for you guys, mixing up coverages and defending him the way you need to.
Well, you got to mix it up. You got to give him some different coverages. Got to give him some different looks, just to keep him guessing, keep his mind moving and everything, so that way it's not too easy for him.
He just asked you a few things about this, but this team didn't win a single game 1 last year. How important can that be just for the momentum of the series?
It's very important. Getting that game 1 is for me, I feel it's a really big establisher in the first game of the playoffs right there. If you can get game 1, gives you great momentum going into game 2, and just seeing what works and what didn't work, and just taking that into the next game.
You talked about disrupting them. I think one thing that's made Giannis even more dangerous lately is I think he's had 5 double-figure assist games over his last 6, and I think only 1 assist tonight. I mean, just how important was just making sure that other guys didn't get clean looks, and what do you think you guys did well to do that?
I think we did well on that. Like I said before, it was Giannis going out there getting his points, but trying to make it difficult for everybody else out there around him. Giannis is a big threat. Great talent, but you just have to make it hard for him. And then, with him, revved up, thinking about it and everything, we can make his other guys out there think about it. So I think it was a good thing.
They obviously, you talked about second unit, so their second unit tends to shoot it really well. They obviously just put a lot of good shooters on that, and they certainly made some tonight. But what do you guys think you did well, just as far as that was concerned, to make sure that there weren't clean looks for Porter, for Green, for Trent? Obviously, they got a few, but still.
I believe it was our transition defense, setting our defense up, and our communication. I feel like our communication has gotten better, from 2 weeks ago to now. Going into the playoffs, we know what we have in front of us. We know what we have to establish it as defense and getting out in transition. And if we get back in transition defense and, get a few stops out there, that lets us get out and run. And that's what we love to do.
I think he's doing a really good job offensively of just taking what the defense gives him and then, just filling in exactly what we need defensively. Guard Giannis a little bit. He's in rotations and he's not on Giannis. Doing a great job of, showing his length, rebounding. So I think he's really helping us right now.
Thanks, Doug.
Apologies if you were asked this already, but obviously you go into this knowing Giannis is going to score. Imagine what you wanted to do was not have him as many assists. The guys held him to 1. Just what do you like about the way that you at least made his life at least a little bit difficult and made sure that other people weren't burning you?
Yeah, I think we did a good job having a team effort on him. He's going to score his points. He's going to do what he does. But I think we just got to make life hard on him as hard as we can. And just keep rebounding defensively and getting out and running. They rely on him for a lot what they do offensively, so when we get stops, we get out and run. They
were 2 of 16 from 3 in the first half. Just what do you like about the way you guys contested and make sure they weren't getting a whole lot of clean looks?
Yeah, I think we did a great job flying around. I think that they would probably tell you that they felt like they got some good looks, they just didn't fall. So watch the film, see where we can get better. But I thought we did a great job flying around and just trying to figure it out on the defensive end. For the most part, I think we did.
What'd you like about just your own game? Obviously, you're not thrilled with 3 of 13, 0 of 7, but as far as 12 assists versus 1 turnover,
just trying to play the right way. Impact the game the right ways. It's the playoffs. I could care less about my individual statistics. Just want to help the team win. I feel like I, really played a big part in us winning the game, which is ultimately, what's most important. But, law of averages. We talked about that all year. So, I'm looking forward to the game too.
You talked about, they don't like you, you don't like them. Just what got going between you guys and Dame extra the other night?
Nothing. Just hoop at the end of the day. So we'll be ready game 2.
Go ahead.
Rick, what were you pleased about execution-wise from your team today?
I thought the first half, our level of persistence was good and it was consistent. Things stalled out some in the third quarter. I got to look at it. I haven't looked at any of the film yet, but the series is 1/7 over, and game two will be monumentally more difficult than this one.
After several big plays in that third quarter, how did that help you guys survive that Bucks stretch in the second half?
Well, around the rim, he's a big factor, and he got some big rebounds, and he hit some important shots, and so. The important thing for us is when we attack, trying to find the right shots. We fell into a thing in the second half where we took some shots that were shots, but they weren't the best shots for us. And Milwaukee had a lot to do with it. So as you look at things from game to game, that'll certainly be one of the adjustments that we make.
That was my last question, but what else would you like to see some improvement in as it goes to game 2 on Tuesday?
A lot of things. I mean, Giannis got to the basket too much. We're trying to build walls. He's still getting there. And he's a great player, and great players cause, collateral problems. And so it's not a surprise, but, we got to look at that. We fouled them a lot. We've got to cut down on fouls, and we'll see. I mean, the ebbs and flows of a series are so up and down. It's impossible to predict exactly what's going to happen from game to game.
That being said, obviously you go into this knowing Giannis is probably going to score. Imagine one of the biggest things you want to do is make sure he's not getting double-figure assists like he was. He only had one. Obviously, you were able to hold everybody else to better than manageable numbers. I mean, how did you like how you managed to make life at least a little bit difficult on him and make sure that nobody else was beating you?
Well, I mean, their shooters got going in the second half, and that's a concern. Now, some of those shots weren't necessarily coming off the first pass, but he had some hockey assists on those. So, we got to look at all that stuff. In an NBA game with great players, you can't take away everything. So we got to keep working on making it hard. And then look, from game to game, there's no telling who's going to be available from a personnel standpoint. We got to be ready for Dame to come back, and a whole host of things.
Obviously, Ben Mathurin and Jarris Walker, basically Ben playing his first playoff minutes, Jarris playing kind of his first really meaningful, playoff minutes. What did you like about this? The contributions you got, especially from both of them in the first half.
I think they both did a very solid job out there. Mathurin's offense in the first half was a big factor. He had drives. He was active around the basket and cuts. Jarris hit a big shot. It's great for those guys to jump right into the deep end. Against a seasoned veteran playoff team in Milwaukee. I mean, they got a lot of guys that played a lot of playoff games, and to feel what it's like. The second half was a little bit different for everybody. It just. They went more zone. They got it slowed down a little bit, and so the game's going to feel different. It's going to be different, and so we got to look at that. But overall, I was very happy for them. It was a great opportunity for them to get right into it, and some very good things happened.
Remember last year you guys made a point of telling Drew that there was going to be scoring opportunities there, even in this series and the playoffs in general, and obviously you attacked right out of the gate. Just what did you like about his approach, especially early on scoring the basketball?
Everybody on our team's got to be armed and dangerous, to score. Striking in the right balance is everything for our team. And so as we get into this and you go from game to game, there's going to be different storylines. There's going to be different skirmishes during the game. There's going to be all kinds of that stuff. We've got to maintain a level head and a high level of aggression, while also maintaining poise.
Rick, Tyrese struggled shooting the ball tonight, but what did you like about his overall game, and still obviously doing what he normally does, getting guys involved?
Yeah, I don't worry about his shooting. It took a while for him to get on the board, but every team is going to be trying to make life miserable for him, and he understands it, and he's developed a really good discipline and patience when teams, try to take him out of it early. So, I'll have to look at the whole game to be really, really able to give you a global answer on that. But I thought he balanced things very well. And I thought defensively, his attention to detail was very good in this game. And it's got to be very good for everybody because these guys cause so many problems, And we're talking about a game where Lillard didn't even play yet, so there'll be a lot going on as we move forward.
Rick, you mentioned the other day that Pascal has understated greatness. What do you mean by that? What makes him understated and great at the same time?
Well, I mean, I think the average person watching the game wouldn't presume that he was 10 for 15 with 25 points. I mean, I think that's it, and. A lot of his baskets come at in timely parts of the game, and for some reason they kind of get overlooked a little bit, But that's part of his grace as a competitor, and so he's obviously very, very important to us.
Just spacing the floor better, being more decisive when you get the ball. Try to get out of time, try to get in the paint, try to create something, either for yourself, for your teammate, and just move the ball. I'd say said this before, the board has energy and people touch the ball. People start feeling good. People start making plays. And shots become easier. But I totally understand. We didn't play well. Our offense wasn't good. Shots did not fall. I feel like it was game one. Guys get like anxious. They kind of inching towards the ball because they want the ball. They want to make the play. They want to, get themselves involved in the game. And I don't think it's from bad ego. I feel like everybody's trying to do the right thing. Everybody has the right intention, but we just got to be better. Just have a patience. Just trust them. Trust one another. Trust that the ball's going to find us. Trust that we're going to make plays. Hopefully the game should be better.